Welcome to Critical Aspects of Law Enforcement, a podcast where we dive into the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being of the law enforcement officer.
Minor injury accident in the 2700 block of 156th Avenue Northeast.
All right, welcome back to Critical Aspects of Law Enforcement. I'm your host, Vernon Phillips, and today on the show we got Raul. I appreciate him coming out and being a part of it. I know we've taken a little bit of a break here the last couple of months, so we're diving back in with Mr. Raul here, and he's gonna. I'm just gonna turn it over to him, let him talk a little bit about himself, kind of share his law enforcement history, what he's doing now, and sir, take it over, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, first of all, sir. I do appreciate that. I'm honored. And just real quick about myself. Again, my name is Raul Rivas. I'm born in New York, of course. You can tell by a little bit by that accent never kind of left me. But I'm a Floridian. I've been down here since I'm 9 years old. Grew up in Orlando area. Graduated from Dr. Phillips High School. Went to college for a couple of years up in Rhode Island, and then joined the military reserve. And I was gonna go ahead and take a semester off and transfer down here to Florida, going to UCF. And well, when I took that semester off, Desert Storm happened. So I got shipped out that way for a little bit, and completely kind of, while out there, just kind of thinking about life and what I'm going to do with my life. And the cop thing kind of came up. I thought that sounded fun and more like me in reference to, I've always been that guy to kind of help if I could, and try to do the right thing. We all try to do the right thing, but just I liked helping, of course. And of course, the fast cars and guns was a bonus, right? So got back into the States after being up there for almost 10 months, and started putting applications in. And man, I got lucky, that Orlando police went ahead and picked me up, and I stayed with them for 26 years. From the time I was 21, I turned 22 in my first phase, FTO. I turned 22, so I was a young guy coming through, and I did 26 years there. And I had a pretty fortunate career. I was able to do the things I wanted to do, for, of course, patrol and bike patrol, gang unit. I went undercover for a few years, did detective, SWAT for 18 years, U.S. Marshals Task Force, FBI Task Force, ATF Task Force. So I've been fortunate to kind of move around throughout my career. And then I retired back in 2019 from OPD, went to work briefly for FDLE. That just wasn't my cup of tea. So I left there. Then I went to the state attorney's office. I was a deputy chief at the state attorney's office. Did that for a little while, and at the same time, I was kind of dabbling into the mental health for first responders kind of field, and that just really, it became a passion. Trying to give back due to my own story and struggle. So that became a passion of mine. So and I know we'll get into this a little more, but it just started getting busy, so I ended up having to leave state attorney's office, and now I do what I do full time now for first responders around the country.
Yeah, now obviously there's a whole lot there we can
Yes,
dive
sir.
into. I mean, you got your 26 years with OPD, and then also, just the stuff you did after that. But so back up real quick to the very
Yeah.
first part. You said that you're originally from New York. So what part of New York? Like
So
New
I
York,
was born.
New York City?
I was born in Manhattan. I was born in Manhattan. I don't have a whole lot of memories of that because we were born in Manhattan. We moved to Jersey, and then from Jersey moved down to Florida. Again, I was 8 when we moved down here. I turned 9 here in Florida. So I have, family memories up there when I was small, but I don't have, I didn't really grow up
Okay.
in New York to say that, yeah, I'm Floridian. If it gets below 60, I tell people crime would just happen. I was not getting out the car. I cannot handle the cold weather at all. So I cannot claim anything northern. I just can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always ask because I'm originally from New York, but the western part of the state.
Oh,
So,
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah. So,
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was born in Manhattan. We went to Jersey pretty quick. I think after a few years, and I lived from like from like 3 or 4 to like 8. I was in Jersey, and then we came down. So yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So yeah, obviously, we start looking at your career and your background. I mean, 26 years, and then plus, some of the other stuff you did. So obviously, you've got a lot of experience that we could draw from and dive into. But throughout your time in the law enforcement community and your career, how did you just keep yourself balanced? What was it for you that just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? How did you keep yourself? Um, kind of balance. And if you didn't do a great job then, but you're doing a better job now, explain,
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
doing. So,
Uh, you know, I kind of when I look back, I don't know that it almost feel like it was 2 careers. And what I mean by that is in the beginning of my career, I was running and gunning and just going and getting it. I didn't know what I didn't know, and uh, I definitely, the culture at OPD, you know, you hear people around the country say that, they would tell you to suck it up and to suck it up. We didn't really even have that. We just didn't talk about anything.
mm,
We just went from call to call to call, from craziness to craziness, which is part of the job. I get it, but we just didn't talk about it. The culture at OPD was we just kept pushing. We just
yeah,
we really didn't even have the suck it up buttercup type thing. So um and so the later part of my career, I'm on SWAT now and doing being on the SWAT team and the U.S. Marshals Task Force and the FBI Task Force, and looking for the worst of the worst and doing those type of investigations, and of course robbery. I've been robbery for a long while. Uh, things were I didn't take care of myself. Things were getting worse, and I felt like things were not good in me, but I also felt like this was the way it's supposed to be for
mm,
cops.
yeah,
I didn't know anything different. So, uh, the answer to that is I didn't take care of myself. I'm what I do now in reference to talking to other first responders is, I'm a cautionary tale. Don't do what I did. Don't ignore, don't put your head in the sand. So yeah, I didn't take care of myself. And that's the first answer to your question is I didn't do a good job at all. And we'll get into it, but yeah, I definitely it came to a head, and it all will, and that's another part that you can hide as much as you want. At some point, it's going to come out, and then what it looks like when it comes out, that's the scary part. What does that mean when
yeah.
you're bottling up all the stress and the trauma and the anxiety and the depression, and you're bottling all that up? When it comes out, what does it look like? DUI, domestic violence, anger outburst, and we can go on and on and on,
Oh
right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
scary part is what's it going to look like when it comes out if you don't take care of yourself. So again, the answer is I didn't take care of myself. That's my answer.
yeah. So I mean, just fast forward to now. Like,
Mhm.
what do you do now? Like, what's your regular routine to make sure that you're staying
Yeah.
balanced?
You know, uh, uh, Man, it's a good question. I don't want to give you a long answer. uh, you know, some of it is what I do. I do a lot of public speaking, and that has been therapeutic for me.
Mm,
Didn't really, and I happened up upon that. It wasn't by I didn't look to be a public speaker. It just kind of happened due to the Pulse nightclub incident. Um, and so it kind of happened, and so that's been a little therapeutic for me. Uh, and going to get help. I mean, I actually went and got some help, and that helped me. But now, what I found out, my things that keep me grounded is getting back to the things that I like doing, and then and paying attention to the important things, myself, just taking care of myself, physically and spiritually, uh, and then paying attention to my family, and then getting back to the things I like to do. Like
Yeah.
I coach football now. I got back to coaching football. I love coaching football. I love being around the kids, and I say kids. I'm coaching high school football. I like being around the young men. I like teaching them. I think I have that to give back, and that just it fills me up, man. It does. It fills my heart, and I love that. And of course, I probably should have said this first. My son. I mean, my son. You know, again, part of not taking care of myself, I lost many years with him.
Mm.
I was always around. So, what I mean by lost many years, I was always present in body. Uh,
Yeah.
I was always around, right? But I wasn't always present, in mind. There were many years that I know my son couldn't come to me. Many years that he wouldn't come to me because I wasn't the right person. I wasn't the man I was supposed to be for him. So I lost many years because of that. So I've gotten back to, and that's what I say about getting back to family. I've gotten back to remembering that they are number one in my
Mm.
life. So uh, and last and not least, probably the most important is just putting God first. Uh, I have my own relationship with God. I've always have, and I learned that from my mom. Uh, and that just gives me peace. And that's those are the things I do now.
Yeah.
I can go a whole lot deeper with the therapy and kind of uh, after going to therapy, right, and talking to somebody who's a whole lot smarter than I am, uh,
Yeah.
you get you get to learn, you get to learn what your indicators are, and I hate using the word triggers, right, but you get to learn what your triggers are, but more especially, like I know what my trigger may be, and that's over there, but what's it gonna do? Like maybe I missed the trigger sign, but I now can start feeling when I'm going down the rabbit hole. I now start feeling that if I'm getting a little bit angry and Vern, I don't like that damn sign behind you. And I just start, what, really what's going on here? Right. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that'll happen though. Like, man, what did I get angry about? Like what,
Oh yeah.
and so those are signs, that I can identify now. And I'm making that's a very easy example there, but those are signs that I can identify now. So the big deal for me is like, take stock in the everyday, and so I count my blessings in the morning that I'm on this side of the grass, and then at night, you know, what happened today? What did I do? What kind of recount, and then, well, wait a minute now, why did I get angry? At Vern's, Phoenix behind him. That just makes no damn sense. Like, why? And then,
Yeah.
uh, and this is something that somebody once told me, and I it's one of my little mantras, but, don't sweat the small shit, and most of the shit's pretty small. And
Yeah.
it's excuse me for cursing, but
No, you're good.
you get to figure that most of the stuff that's happening around us is pretty small. So, but why we're sweating it? And
Yep.
so, spend your time on the important things. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that that's something that we hear often a lot is, um, kind of what you're just your honesty there, where you're like, I didn't really do a great job
Yeah.
throughout my career taking care of myself. Right. It wasn't until either you later on in my career or after I get out of my career, I actually started to see the need for that and the benefit. But the other thing we hear a lot, and I'm sure you hear just as much as I do, is, I'm present, but I'm not present, right?
Yeah.
I'm physically there, but I'm
Yeah.
not really there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, our home life family, like, they're the ones that, they're the first hit.
Yeah.
But they're also the most important aspect of our social support network, right?
Uh-huh.
Having that good social support network at home,
Uh-huh.
but they're often the first ones to suffer.
Yes, sir.
And um, I've heard it before where, people are talking about, like, hey, my family would tell me that, we don't know which version of dad we're going to get today, or we don't know which version of mom we're going to get today. And it's like, you know, it's not until after people really start to
Uh-huh.
see
Uh-huh.
um, how that's really played out in their life, right? And usually it's negative, right? Something's
Mhm.
happened, something's transpired, and
Right.
then I step back
Right.
and they're like, "Oh man, I never even knew that." They'd be
Mhm.
like, "Oh man, who's he going to be today?" You know,
Right. Right.
and that's stressful for your family.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so learning that and then implementing that, early on. And I know that that's, something key that you do when you go out and you speak and you're talking to
Yes,
people,
sir.
is like you're trying to impart that on them, like, hey, learn this stuff earlier on,
Right.
because it's,
Right.
it's just going to be a better benefit for you as you progress through your career.
Yeah,
So
I tell you, Vern, I tell people all the time, and we forget this, but all your family wants to do is help you. They want to see you succeed. It's all they ever want to do. And as much as anybody, if you ask your family right now to walk across the highway, they'll do it without hesitation. If that means that it's going to be better for you, if it's going to help you, they'll do it without hesitation. But
mhm,
why is it that they're the last ones we talk to for help? We'll turn to the guy that's in the same shit that we're in and ask him for advice, right?
hey,
But
what do you think I should do? What do you think I
yeah,
should do? No,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
Yeah, right, I don't know.
Yeah,
And we're both belly up at the same bar, right? And the same rut, but I'm asking you, the blind leading the blind, right? That's what we're
yeah,
talking about here. So, and but to add to that is that, you know, what have we done to prepare our families to help us? What have we
yeah,
had those conversations? And this is where I harp on a lot, is that, and you just touched on it, is that, have we had those conversations now before the wheels fall off? Hey, what's a bad day going to look like? What do you need? What do I need when a bad day happens? Because this is the one promise I can make you, is a bad day coming tomorrow.
yeah,
Right. So we all can agree that there's a bad day coming. Right. So why aren't we having the conversations now about what that bad day is going to look like and what we need for that bad day? And I tell everybody, as- for first responders, we train for every bad day there is. We train for active shooter. We train for the bad fire. We train for the bad robbery, the shooting. We train for all that stuff. Why are we going home and doing just a little bit of training,
yeah,
right? And it's just a conversation. What do you need? This is what I'm gonna need.
yeah,
In that conversation, I don't have the magic answer. You know, I don't have the magic conversation, the magic words for each person, because that's should be different for everybody, right? Depending
yeah,
on your spouse, on your family makeup, on their factors, whether it's a school teacher, accountant, a fellow first responder, those conversations will be different. They may not want to hear the gory details, but they need to hear, oh, it was involving a kid. And then they need to know that, okay, when Burns came home and he said that today was something involving a kid, I know he needs an hour. But
yeah,
made an agreement that Vern's going to come back to me in an hour and maybe say, hey, some kids died. And that might be all I need to
yeah,
hear. I don't want to hear how it happened, right? But I'm making a crazy example here, why aren't we having those conversations now? And those are the things that we have to uh, hopefully harp on when we talk to our people out there around the country and locally. Uh, you know, let's prepare ourselves now. Because when
Yeah.
the wheels fall off, when the bad day happens, it's going to be hard to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so, yeah, good.
yeah. No, and it comes back down to the communication aspect, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
because that's one of the biggest things you hear about is the lack of communication.
yeah.
Your family just wants to be involved. They don't want to know, like you said, they don't necessarily want to know all of the details of what transpired, but
Right.
they just want to be involved,
Yep.
right? And they just want to know how they can come alongside and support you, like you said,
Mhm.
before the wheels fall off or before the dumpster is on fire rolling down the
Right,
hill.
right,
Like,
right.
what can we do before this? Because if you look at us after this has already transpired, and like, hey, why did you help me put out this fire? And you're like, we don't even like, with what? Like, we're not
Yeah.
equipped for that. We haven't had these conversations. You haven't given us any tools to,
Mhm.
to mitigate. Like, okay, hey, if this transpires, I'm just going to need this, this, and this. So, but
Mhm.
no, you're definitely on track there. Like having that onboarding with the family, um, and even I think even agencies could even do a better job,
Mhm.
onboarding fam not yeah, they onboard their new employees all the time, right?
Mhm.
But what
Mhm.
about their families,
Right,
right?
right, right,
Like
right. No,
let's
I
start.
agree. I tell you, I actually saw an agency, and it's kind of cool to see this. They actually have a 2-day, of course, optional orientation for the family,
Mm,
and I thought that was so cool. You get to come in, and it's exactly what they talk about was communication, 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 and they kind of went through, hey, don't forget, like this new cop can see everything from saving the cat in the tree to a mass
mm,
casualty incident and everything in between. Right. So make sure they have that reality kind of brought to them and then said that it's about communication. I thought it was just a cool
yeah,
concept, to kind of have and they have, I think it was 2 days because I think you had to come to one, so they gave like two options what it was. So, but you had to come to one. I think it was like 4 hours, so it wasn't a grandiose, commitment, but just something to kind of let them know that, you know, communicate. This is a tough job and you are a big part of it, which I just thought is cool. I just thought it
no,
really
that is,
cool. So, yeah, so that hopefully that kind of thing catches on a little more. But even, even what we do now, we do got to have, we need to do better in training our new officers, new deputies, into including the family into that process of coming home and decompressing, whatever that whatever word you want to use, but and,
yeah,
and having those conversations. Yeah.
yeah. And so with that, what are three things that you would, um, three advice or just
Mhm.
three things you'd like to instill in somebody just coming into the profession?
Yeah. Well, one is that, right? Like, definitely include your family, make sure that they're part of the process and that you start a process of communicating with them and finding what works. It's going to probably always be a living, breathing thing. It's probably going to change over the years because I will submit to you that the officer you are day one is going to change, in year 10, right? And then again in year 20, and which we could probably say year 1 to year 5 and year 10,
Yeah,
15, 20, right? So that's going to change, and then because we just even if you in any profession in any walk of life, you just you're gonna gain experience and change. So uh be open to that change and opening those lines of communication up with the people that are close to you. Uh uh I would say that pay attention to yourself and pay attention to your spouse or that family member. you know, and give them the, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Give them, uh, the right, the permission to say, Vern, you don't seem like yourself.
Mm.
You know, Vern, you're picking up a couple too many drinks. Uh, Vern, man, you getting angry about nothing, you know, and pay attention to that. Because
Yeah.
if you let this person in your circle and you are trusting them in your circle, then you got to trust what they got, what's going to come out their mouth,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and take it to heart, right? And and pay attention to yourself. I mean, those are the three things. Listen to the people around you, let the people in, you know, making those and pay attention to yourself. I mean, keep doing the things that make you happy. Keep trying to find new things that make you happy. Uh, uh, you know, and I don't care what it is, man. You know, we were, you know, we were talking to we were at a class, a couple months ago, and uh, Doug Monda, my partner, actually, he had asked the audience, "Hey, you know, give me a couple things that make you happy." And this man's, you know, he picked on the guy, and the guy said, "Man, my daughter caught her first fish on her Barbie fishing reel thing." And man, you could see this guy smile. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, not to be anything grandiose, but that guy's like, that me and my daughter's time makes me happy. I do everything I can to have that present time with my daughter, not just there in body and letting her fish and being, oh, I just got the camera, but being that guy just laying back, letting it happen, but being present. I leaned
Yeah.
so far back, I came out of the camera view. So
I, I didn't want to say nothing. I thought you flipped out of your chair, and I was like, well,
no,
we're gonna play that off.
no, I just leaned so far back, I came out of view. Sorry about that, but yeah, he is being present in his daughter's life, and that makes him happy. Man,
Yeah.
whatever it is, pay attention to what makes you happy, and fight for that. You know, fight for that. So, uh, those are the three things I would say. You know, and none of them are easy.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
easy to say, but none of them are easy to do. You know, and consistently do.
Yeah, especially with cops, and you start talking about letting people in and
Yeah. Yeah.
listening to people and allowing somebody to come in and kind of hold you accountable.
Hold you
Um,
account. That's the word. Thank you.
and
Thank you. Yeah.
and giving them that permission. I mean, and
Mhm.
you know, and my wife will do that with me. I mean, she'll straight call me right out, and I'm like, and it's not enjoyable, right? When,
No. No.
hey, you're, what is going on? Why are you so upset? Like, why are
Right.
you so, like, what is going on?
Mhm.
Because it's not this, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
generally it's over something stupid, right? It's just things have built up to the point where,
Right.
it's
That
just
that
something
that
dumb,
that
right?
last
And
straw. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, one that sticks in my mind that this was probably 6 months to a year ago now was, I was trying to make some roll up things in the air fryer, and like they were
Right.
sticking and they fell apart, and man, I lost my mind. And she's just like, what? Like, she's like, it's not that big a deal, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it's not. It wasn't, but it just, for whatever reason, I just had a lot of stuff going on, and like, you're already taxed, and
Right.
then it's kind of one of those where can't just one thing go
Right.
right? Like, can
Right.
can one thing just um but it's not that. It's
Right.
all the other things that we haven't dealt with, and then that's just one more thing, and then now all of that is coming out,
Mhm.
and just like you said,
Mhm.
well, eventually it's going to come out, and then how does
Mhm.
it come out,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
we can go through the list again, but
Right.
generally we see it in, domestic
Mhm.
violence and drinking and
Mhm.
things like
Mhm.
that, and
Mhm.
or just, you, you just bottle up so long until you just, implode.
Right.
And then at that point, you're like, well, now what do I do?
Right.
Right. I mean, now you're facing so many other things rather than just the
Mhm.
stuff you've been dealing with. Um, And
let's not sugarcoat it. I am saddened. I mean, by the last 30 days or so, and it's just in the state of Florida here, I think we've had like 5 suicides
mm,
just here in the state of Florida. I mean, so when we say not dealing with this stuff is going to eventually come out in some bad way, let's not forget that the
oh
ultimate,
yeah,
it would be that, right? So, um, and that is a direct consequence of not dealing with any of the stuff that's going on in your head and in your heart. So, uh, yeah, I mean, we definitely have to be paying attention and to ourselves and to each other.
yeah, and that's why you do what you do, and that's why I do what I do is because we want people to understand, like, hey, look, it's okay, if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, like that's that's normal, right?
Right.
That but make use of the resources that are available to you. But for so long in the profession, you didn't talk about it, you didn't share the fact that you were struggling, or that that you had things going on, so you would just internalize it, right?
Yep.
And then that just creates that isolation,
Yeah.
and nobody else talks about it. So in your
Mm.
mind, you're like, well, nobody else must be dealing with it. There must be something wrong with me,
Right.
right? And then it gets to the point where whatever that presenting concern, it gets so intense that they just want it to stop. So they
Mhm.
make the decision, hey, all right, well, this will make it stop,
This will make it
right?
stop. Yep.
It'll
Yep.
make it stop. I won't have to deal with it anymore,
Mhm.
right? So they lose, their their they feel helpless, they
Mhm.
feel hopeless, and they feel worthless,
That's
right?
right.
When
That's
you
right.
have those three things, that's that trifecta that puts people in
Yes,
that
sir.
bad spot to where they make
Yes,
that
sir.
decision.
Right.
So if we can come back in, and we can take out one of those, or instill one of
Mhm.
those back into where they feel like they have some worth, right? Where they feel like they have some hope, where they feel like they are is help, then we can start alleviating some of this stuff. But
Yeah.
it's it's a it's a big task that the first
It
responder
is.
community really needs to look at and say, okay, how can we really start implementing some of this stuff across the board? Because I mean, you've got some agencies that do really well, and you've got
Right.
some that don't do anything.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so if we can start having people realize that they're not alone, I
Right.
think then we can start changing some things.
I think this is important that we have these conversations out loud,
Oh
out
yeah,
loud in all the rooms, right? So because I believe in this. Hopefully, the next time I see you, we're having a conversation in a room full of people, and it really won't be for us so much, but it'll be for that person in the back of the room that overhears us speaking. They need to hear something that we're saying, and hopefully that moves the needle a little bit for them to
yeah,
go out and get the resource that they need to potentially save their lives.
yeah,
So I think that us having these conversations is more important than we'll ever know. Because somebody listens to us. We and I the Lord works in mysterious ways, and I believe it, and I've had my own uh, signs, so to speak. But there's been times when, doing what we do now, you don't know who you reach, right? You don't know if you're making a difference. You don't know, what's happening once people leave the room that you're in and you're speaking. And it can be heavy, right? Because and I end up, not end up, but we in our position do listen to people that are struggling with different things, and that gets heavy sometimes. So, uh, man, and so every now and then I'll get tired
yeah,
and wondering if I'm making a difference. And I swear every time I feel that way, God sends me somebody that says, "Hey, I heard what you said, and it helped me. I heard what you said, and we got somebody over here some help." And that re-energizes me, man, in a
yeah,
way that just it's hard to explain. but it's always on time. It's always on time. So I
Yeah.
believe in having these conversations out loud in rooms full of people. I believe
Yeah.
in it. Mhm.
No, absolutely, and that's something we don't often talk about. I mean, and people are like, "Oh, people shy away from getting into the topic of suicide because,
Mhm.
you know, it, it's uncomfortable. It's been uncomfortable in the first responder community,
Mhm. Mhm.
in that space for a long time. But
Yes, sir.
just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it shouldn't be talked about,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Mhm.
so, I mean, with that, I mean, obviously, it's something that you're passionate about. So, with
Mhm.
that, like, what are you? Let's get to like what you're doing now with
Yeah. Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
that you're doing. I think it's a good segue into where you're at now and what you're doing and the
Absolutely.
resources you're trying to provide, man.
For sure, for sure. So I touched a little bit. I kind of got into public speaking by mistake, uh, due to the Pulse nightclub thing I was involved in with just a bunch of great other SWAT guys and law enforcement as a whole. We were involved in that. Uh, we I ended up doing public speaking because we were tasked on debriefing the incident to different agencies. Uh, at the same time, I'm kind of going through my own mental health journey, and
Yeah,
I'm doing my best to hide it and kind of, I'd had my breakdown, but I had my breakdown with my family. Uh, and so I'm getting help, and in the same time, I'm doing these debriefs in different parts of the country about Pulse, and so if you fast forward uh, about a year or so, a year and a half actually, uh, I've started saying something to the effect of, if you got something in your head or if you're having any struggles, I forgot what I was saying, but just don't be afraid to get some help. I would just right at the end of my debrief. I mean, I'd talk
yeah,
for 2 hours and I throw like a 10-second little blurb in there. And Doug Monda, the founder of Survive First, happened to be in the audience one day and heard me say that. Um, Approached me. We talked. He wanted to know my story. I gave him my mental health story, and uh, he said people need to hear that. And I didn't know again what I didn't know. I was dealing with it on my own.
yeah,
I was getting help and I was dealing on my own and then didn't really know that, I was in my own little world kind of trying to get myself together. So, that opened me up to like, there's a whole world of this going on right now in the first responder, community. Uh, so I dove in, started doing stuff with Survive First. And so, push forward now. I am uh, honored to say that we get to with Survive First. We get to take the no out of the process, or help take the no out of the process for first responders getting the resources that they need.
yeah,
So and, we take those calls from people that are looking to get help to get treatment assistance with, and that may be monetary. If they need a deductible covered and they're going to a treatment center, we can help with some of that, right? Need a plane ticket, we can help with some of that. Those type things that they just need a resource. We're just again honored to say that we have a network around the country of resources that we can, pick up the phone and they pick the phone up when we call and uh, and get you help. So no matter where you're at in the country, I know somebody.
mm,
Uh, and that's just what Survive First does. I'm now on the board of Survive First, and I'm humbled by that. And with that, we move slow into associating ourselves with different resources because we got to make sure because when this with first responders and this, I hate saying the word industry, but it is what it is. In this mental health industry for first responders, you get one chance.
yeah,
So if I tell somebody to call Vern and Vern don't pick the phone up, we lost it. We lost that chance. Now we got to hope that the person that's in need that's going to go back into that cycle will eventually come back out and look for help again. But again,
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of hope, and we're hoping that they don't lose their way in that cycle, and again, end up DUI, domestic violence, suicide. All those things are possibilities, right? Uh, so you have one chance, and when you're dealing with us and somebody that has finally gotten to the point to raise their hand and say, "I need help." Because we all know what it's taken for that person to get to that point. So you've got
Yep.
one chance. So we move really slow to make sure we associate ourselves with resources that we have vetted. And one of the ones that I bring up and I work with is After Action. That's another thing I'm involved with. So Survive First and After Action. After Action is a treatment center out of California, and more. They do everything from education to, again, networking. That the CEO he's doing the right thing for the right reasons. Uh, and with that, I mean that if we don't do it after action, he wants us to find whatever resource that's going to help that person get help. So even if it's not with After Action, he wants to make sure that we're helping. And I can get down with that, and After
Yeah.
Action, as far as a treatment center, and I don't talk bad about treatment centers. They all do good. Well, most of them do good work. I think
Yeah.
again, After Action does it a little bit better, because they do it for the right reasons. And bottom line is that they're not so hell bent about the profit. They're hell bent about helping and hoping to make the profit. There's a
Yeah.
difference. There's a
Yeah.
difference when putting the profit first as opposed to helping first. And that's where After Action's heart is. And then the other thing that's even, a big deal as well is that uh, they do more intense work. They've done the homework before they opened the first door and said that this is what first responders have 100% said is the most impactful parts of being in a treatment facility. So we're going to do more of the impactful work than just the industry standard. Just that what everyone else, and I mean that part, every other treatment facility in the country stays close to the industry standard. Even though the evaluations from every 100% of the first responders that come out say this part, which would be time with the therapist, and that second part is the group sessions with other first responders. Those are the most impactful parts of being in a treatment facility. After Action, you get 4 times the amount of each. So you're going to see a therapist almost every day in After Action, where the normal is once a week. You're going to do group sessions every day, where the norm is maybe a few times a week.
Yeah.
Just those are the best things. And again, it's about helping first. And we got to keep the lights on. So we're trying to make some money too, but we got to help first. And
Yeah.
that's where it comes from. So that's the 2 things I'm involved with: is Survive First and After Action, and a whole bunch of other resources. Those are 2 main ones. And we try to, it's a continual thing. I was just on the meeting yesterday about, and I am not the tech savvy guy, but we were on a meeting yesterday about some AI stuff and how that's starting to creep into this, mental health industry. And,
Yep.
it's remarkable what I saw yesterday. I'm still having problem working my iPhone, so I just want to let you know where my level is. So, but just
Yeah.
really cool stuff out there on the, I don't want to say on the horizon like it's here. It's just I'm starting to find out about it, but it's really cool
Yeah.
stuff, man. So we continually try to vet things and make sure we stay uh aware of what's going on around the country.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, and I appreciate what you're doing. And what I'll
Thanks.
do is I'll actually I'll put the information for Survive First and After Action
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
in the show notes. That way,
Mhm.
if somebody wants to reach out, they can do that.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
I mean, as
Awesome.
we kind of, I want to be respectful of your time. So as we kind of start to wrap things up here,
Yes, sir.
when you look back over your career and kind of where you're at now, like how much has your faith played a role in that?
Man, so I I I don't think I lost my faith, but I did forget about it, in the middle of my career.
Yeah.
Uh, it wasn't until I had my breakdown, uh, and started going to therapy and talking with my dad actually as well, that I remembered my relationship with God. Uh, I remember that I had a strong relationship with God, and I let that get clouded. I let myself forget. You know, I forgot about going to Him. And just having those conversations, right? So,
Yeah.
and remember, it was sad for me because it was never a thing of I lost my faith. I forgot about it. And when I that's what that makes sense, but
Yeah.
uh, when I remembered I could go to God, and I hadn't been, that was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I will tell anybody that listens, that God is my savior, and He's guided me through where I am today. With His help, and yeah, He's played an important part of bringing me back to where I am today. Uh, and I do believe that that was a big plan. Was that to make me. Sorry, something just popped up my computer here. There we go. I believe that was a big plan of His to let me venture off a little bit and remember. And I think that made our relationship a little stronger, my relationship with God a little
Yeah.
stronger. So yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And
Thanks.
like I said, I appreciate you taking the time and just coming on here and just sharing,
Oh,
what you're
thank
doing, sharing some of your experience. And but if somebody, if someone wants to reach out to
you.
you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Hey, I'm at Raul at survivefirst.us. Raul at survivefirst. It's all one word, .us.
Good. And I'll plug that in the show notes too. That way, if anybody, wants to reach out, they can do that. Um,
Appreciate it.
but man, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure that we could keep this up and we could talk about
Yeah.
so many different things. But I think that
Anytime, sir.
yeah,
Anytime. Anytime you want to just, break some bread or chew the fat, just give me a call. I'm ready to go.
yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks,
All
Vern.
right,
Take care,
Raul,
man.
I
All
appreciate
right,
it.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
I appreciate you tuning in and listening to Critical Aspects of Law Enforcement. Remember to subscribe to the podcast and share this resource with your fellow officers. The goal of Critical Aspects is to serve, support, and sustain the law enforcement professionals. So head over to www.criticalaspects.org for more resources and information. And as always, God bless and be safe.